Well, the APEC summit has come to an end here in Vladivostok with a series of agreements. One dealt with higher education. The idea is that it will enable students, university students, to travel in between member countries and study. For example, if I'm an Australian and I was to come to Vladivostok or Seoul or Beijing and study for a semester, well, this would count towards my degree back in Australia. And the idea is that it will free up the higher education sector within the region. And given, the place that the higher education sector plays in the Australian economy, this is seen as a good thing for our country. There were other agreements to do with trade and tariffs, but really the big one was this list of environmentally friendly products, 54 of them. Now, they're all to do with encouraging a better, cleaner environment. Things like the blades that are used for the windmills that generate electricity or solar cells. These products, there won't be anything more than 5% tariff on them. I have to admit, before coming along to this meeting, I just assumed that all of this type of thing was done and dusted before the actual meeting took place, and that the leaders just come along and put their stamp of approval on it. But we're led to believe there was quite some debate about what should go on that list. For example, at one stage, certain countries were trying to push for around 100 products to go on the list, and that this is whittled away down to 54. And that's because it has to be consensus. Everybody has to agree on these products, and various countries would have reasons for why, well, then they're not going to agree to reduce tariffs on this or that. And so it is seen as quite something to come up with 54 products that all these countries, 21 delegations, can agree on. Because the way it works, it's a kind of shame thing, if you like, that if you sign off on this agreement and you don't adhere to it, it's not legally binding, it's just that you'd be too embarrassed not to enforce it. Now, for Russia, the big thing has been to encourage its people to participate in this part of the world. Vladivostok is a long way from Moscow, like it's by train 7 days to Moscow. So for most of people living in the sort of European part of Russia, they just don't think of this as a really buzzing part of the country. In fact, they think of it as a kind of rusty backwater. Now, President Putin has been trying to encourage his country to get more involved here, his countrymen to get more involved here, because this is where he sees the future in the Asia-Pacific region for Russia's economy, because they're not getting a lot of growth out of Europe anymore, and so he wants them to push into Asia and to use Vladivostok to do it. For Australians, though, this will sadly be remembered as the place where Prime Minister Julia Gillard found out that her father died and had to race home, of course, to be with the family at this time. Now, the Prime Minister and all the Australians who've been working on this APEC meeting, though, of course, would not want people to forget the achievements, as they would say, that have been forced through here. The tariff reductions on these environmental products, the higher education reforms. And so they'll still be trying to tell Australians that big things have happened here, and despite the fact that the Prime Minister had to leave early because her father died, there has been a series of considerable achievements that have come out of this APEC meeting.